Hi guys, James here from AR Equipment. This is our range of skid steer mulchers. We designed these primarily for our OEMs and for contractors that are using these on a full-time basis. I come from a land clearing background, so I'm very familiar with these. I had a bunch of horizontal grinders as well back in the day, so I understand rotors, I understand the hydraulic components of them very well. So we've tested these quite a bit lately on our low flow sort of setups on a Coyote 750 we have on our testing facility, and we have a large Takeuchi 12V, which runs about 150 litres a minute at 3,500 PSI. And it ran the high flow extremely well. It was a really good setup for that, and we've learnt that, while you have high flow, there's high flow, an SVL 75 that might run a high flow of 112 litres a minute, which is, it's not a lot in comparison to something that's running 3,500 to 4,000 PSI at 150 litres a minute plus. So high flow itself is quite vast. So we've got a mid-range mulcher. This one we've been doing a bit of testing with, that's why it's got some scratches on it, but it will run a range from around 80 litres a minute up to 120 litres a minute with some adjusting on the valving so we can tune out that rotor speed. And that will do then a standard SVL 75 up to that larger high flow SVL or a high flow cat that's sort of pushing that 120 litres a minute. That's where you want to be. This thing performs extremely well in that range, really, really well. Smaller rotor on it, so recovery speed's quicker, they ramp up faster. Whereas, when you've got large hydraulic horsepower, proper high flow, which is 140 litres plus a minute, where you're pulling 80 to 90 to 100 hydraulic horsepower, you can run a bigger rotor and they'll spin that up and carry that, stored energy better, they'll recover better. So that's why the larger high flow, proper high flow's got a larger rotor in it. So we go from 400 into 480. So that's the difference there. We've tested it right through the range, so you can have some confidence, and the other thing too with these is that they've got a gauge on them, so you can always see hydraulically, because you can't quite see your rotor in front of you when you're on a skiddy. So you're relying on your gauge to test whether you're bogged down into something or not. So you can watch your pressure go up, once you're hitting the top end of your range at that 3,500, you're starting to bog down, and you let it roll back down. And that's how you sort of gauge them. So the gauge is really quite important in operating it. The pusher bar is adjustable, so you can bring it forward and back to whatever suits your style, and also suits the attachment point on the skid steer, because some of them attach a little lower and higher. Takeuchis are almost down on the ground when you latch them up. So you sort of want to be able to adjust angle as you curl a bit, so that's why they've got a 3-point adjustment on them. These even actually have a excavator mount, so you can actually put them on an excavator, take the pusher bar off, put a plate on the top there where that bolt pattern is. It gets you out of trouble at a pinch, right? So if you've got a job where you just need to have both, it's quite useful. They don't run as well as our dedicated excavator ones because they're primarily designed for skid steer, so the rotor design's sort of a little different when you are swinging as compared to pushing and pulling with it. But they actually do work okay, so it gets you out of trouble at a pinch. And then the other thing too is that these run an anvil. Not all of them do. So underneath here you've got a grate. So that just brings down the gap of where the rotor comes around with the material, hits the anvil, and then the smaller that gap is, it just gives you a finer material basically. So if you don't have that, you've got a big gap there, it just spits a lot of big stuff out, and you end up having to run over it a million times to bring it down. Whereas we can run over it once, and then if we want a real fine one, we backblade over the back of it and it brings it really down quite fine. So, and in conclusion with these, the big important part that contractors want to worry about is, can you service a thing? And yes, that is, we have all the parts in stock. We've got bearings, we've got spare motors for them, we've got gauges there in case you knock it with a branch, pusher bars, all that sort of stuff is in stock. So you can keep going easily. You can send it back to us for servicing as well. We take care of them, as with any of our attachments we do. So that's the assurance that you get from us. You get a very good price, very well backed here in Australia compared to a lot of cheap importers. These are not designed to be a cheap Chinese import. They're designed to compete with, performance-wise, as good as anything European or American made. That's the purpose of AR. Thanks for watching, and talk to one of the team today if you've got more interest in mulchers. Thank you.